Good afternoon to one and all present here. I request all of you to put yourselves on mute throughout the entire session. Queries, if any, can be put in the chat box and shall be answered at the end of the session. Skill is a unified force of experience, intellect, and passion in their operation, says Rifkin. Our country presently faces a huge challenge of paucity of highly trained workforce as well as non-employability of large sections of unconventionally educated youth who possess little or no skills. Skill development has emerged as a national priority, and a number of skill training initiatives have been undertaken in the last 4 years. Today's webinar throw more light on development, employability, and entrepreneurship. I request Professor Gayatri Sudhir, PhD coordinator, the Oxford College of Science, to welcome our participants and introduce our speaker for today.
Good afternoon. The Internal Quality Assurance Cell is a mechanism to build and ensure quality culture at the institutional level. It helps in planning, guiding, and monitoring quality assurance and quality enhancement activities of the college. In view of this, the IQAC at the Oxford College of Science strives to implement quality at all levels in the institution as well as helps to build quality culture among the stakeholders. As a part of this, IQAC conducts various webinars on quality enhancement and sustenance. One such initiative is today's webinar on skill entrepreneurship development and employability challenges and opportunities. Our resource person for today is Dr. Ravi Kumar KM. Dr. Ravi Kumar KM has obtained his PhD from BTU Belgaum in digital signal processing. He has received 18 awards and guided around 12 PhD candidates. He has one patent to his credit and has published papers in 24 international journals. He has been a member of Task Force on Implementation of National Education Policy 2020. He has been an expert committee member for National Board of Accreditation, that is NBA, New Delhi. He has worked as an assessor of NAAC. He was assigned as a special officer, VTU Regional Office, Mysore Regional Center, Mysore. He was assigned as a special officer, VTU E-Learning Center, Mysore. He has also done the job as a special officer, VTU BRCOC, Mysore Regional Center. He was the academic advisor for National Cyber Safety and Security Standards. He was the CIF Advisory Committee member of the Common Instrumentation Facility Center based in Jalahalli cluster, that is Karnataka Innovation and Technology Society. He was the former principal at SJCIT Chikballapur and he is currently with our Oxford family as a director of the Oxford College of Engineering. We are very happy to have you, sir. I welcome you on behalf of the Oxford College of Science for this webinar.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for welcoming.
Yes. I also welcome our beloved principal, Dr. R. Kavishri, Vice Principal, Dr. Bharti S., heads of the various department coordinators, and my dear students for this webinar. I know this is going to be a very fruitful session for all of us. We are eagerly waiting to hear from you, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, madam. Thank you very much for a nice introduction. Okay, I'll start presenting my screen. If there is any disconnection in between, if slides are not moving, kindly the moderator has to inform me regarding that. Yeah, is my slide visible, madam?
Yes, sir, we are able to see, sir.
Right. So first of all, I thank Principal Kavishri Madam and Oxford Science College and all the faculty members for providing me an opportunity to interact with the students and the faculties who are keen about knowing what actually national education policy is and how national education policy takes us to the level where we can learn skill, entrepreneurship development, and through this, how do we get job or employability, and also to know what are the challenges and how these challenges can be converted to an opportunity. There is a saying, the purpose of education is to make good human being with skill and expertise. So this was said by our Dr. APJ Kalam. And we also know that it is possible to fly without motors, but not without the knowledge and skill. So with this, so my presentation outline will be in this way. We'll have a general information what actually the National Education Policy 2020 is, and then what is the vision of national education policy specific to higher education institution or education system, how the vision has been framed, what is the background behind this vision, that we'll go through it, and we'll check out the implementation part. Before that, we'll see the actual topic, that is skill, entrepreneurship development, employability, what are the challenges and opportunities in this. So let me discuss the first part, that is general information. So the National Education Policy 2020, it is the third policy, but the first policy was introduced in 1968 and the second one in 1986. After this 1986, there was a slight modification or amendment made in this policy, and it was resubmitted in 1992. And the present policy in which we are discussing here is the third one, which has been approved by the Cabinet on July 29th, 2020. So last month, July 29th, it has completed first year, that is, it has celebrated first year of celebration. As per this national education policy, there won't be any difference between the private and the public higher education institutions. So all the facilities the public higher education institution is going to get, so the entire facilities will be available even for the private higher education institutions. All these institutions, whether it may be architecture, arts, science, commerce, etc., all those higher education institutions will be regulated by a single regulatory body, that is called Higher Education Commission of India, in short HECI. And all the central government and the state government will be supporting the higher education institutions to implement this NEP completely. If the institution are young enough, 5 to 6 years of old, to help them in implementing this national education policy, a national mission for mentoring is done, where the senior faculties or retired faculties may be appointed by the higher education institution under this scheme to take their guidance, take their help to completely implement the National Education Policy 2020. And as mentioned in that, in future, everything will be measured in terms of happier or happiness index. How happy the management is, how happy the faculties are, how happy the students are, how happy the parents are, and finally, how happy the society is. Everything will be measured in terms of happiness index. As of now, it's just a policy, it has not yet become a law. Well before this national education policy was approved by Cabinet on July 29th, 5.5 to 6 years before, the draft copy, the preparation of draft copy was started. The draft copy was around 484 pages, and this is the only draft which has received highest consultancy from Panchayat to Parliament. And our state government of Karnataka, well before this NEP was approved by Cabinet in the July, before July itself, in the March itself, the Karnataka state government has formed the task force to study from the draft itself how this national education policy can be implemented in Karnataka. So the force was established well before the policy was approved. And as per the policy, one of the major recommendations was the MHRD should be named as Minister of Education. Yes, it has been done already. So Cabinet has approved this, and the MHRD does not exist now. Now we have Ministry of Education. And second major recommendation of national education policy was higher education should be provided with local language or even in bilingual languages. That has been already approved. Central government has given to start the higher education institution with 11 languages. In that 11 languages, 4 languages have already started, are given willingness to start the higher education in their local language from the academic year 21-22. This final draft copy is of final policy is of 66 pages. So it has 4 parts. Part 1 is a school education, which clearly indicates the shift from 10 plus 2 scheme to 5 plus 3 plus 3 plus 4 scheme. We'll not touch upon the school education. We'll touch upon the second part, that is higher education part, and how this higher education and skill are interrelated. And part 3, we have other key areas of focus and professional studies. And fourth one is how it can be made or implementation part. So out of this 4 part, we'll touch upon the higher education only. So now coming to the vision, how the vision of this national higher education institution was formed. So before forming this vision of higher education institution, all the problems of higher education institution was put in a bucket, and one by one it was taken, whether that particular problem to be solved or not, then that was taken as a vision. For example, the first challenge was how the higher education institution are completely fragmented or splitted. For example, science college separate, arts college separate, commerce separate, engineering separate, architecture separate, everything are completely fragmented or shifted. That is one of the major problems. Second one was there was a less emphasis on the cognitive skills and learning outcome. So the second problem faced by the higher education institution. Third one, a rigid separation of discipline. For example, if you consider engineering, civil separate, mechanical separate, computer science separate, electronics separate. In this way, even the disciplines or courses are completely separated. There is no proper interaction among each other. And fourth one, less access to the particularly to the socially economically disadvantaged area or a rural area, because of which more and more students move from rural area to urban for the higher education. And less autonomy to teachers and institutions, even for the students, less autonomy. They don't have a provision to decide themselves which are the subjects they have to study, because if they choose arts, if they choose commerce, only the subject, the content related to that they are going to study. But if they want to have the interdisciplinary study, that option is not given to them. And inadequate mechanism for merit-based career management and even development also. And research is completely neglected in higher education institutions, except some research labs, research institutions. In academic institutions, research is almost all zero. And governance is suboptimal, and regulatory system is completely ineffective. So these are the problems that higher education institutions were facing. Keeping this in view, the vision of national education policy has been framed. That is, national education policy, it says every university or a college, it should be multidisciplinary. Multidisciplinary means it should have more than one courses. It should have arts, commerce, everything together in a single building or a single area. So students should be able to interact with each other. And this multidisciplinary university or college, it should be large in number. That means students of at least 3,000 should be there in the campus. So more students, more interaction, and more outcome. That is the concept of this NDP National Education Policy. And this large multidisciplinary university or college should be there in every district. For example, in Karnataka, there are 31 districts. So 31 districts means that minimum 31 such large multidisciplinary universities or colleges should be there. And vision also says the medium of instruction should be local, or it should be in Indian language, or even bilingual language. As I said, that has already been implemented, and central government has given clean sheet for the 11 languages to start their higher education institution in their local language. Out of 11, 4 they are going to start in this academic year itself. And vision is to give autonomy to institution as well as teachers. Along with teachers, even for the students, autonomy will be given to select the subjects that they want. to select the skill that they want, to select the skill that they are interested in during their coursework. Along with that, curriculum should be revamped. That is one of the vision, and reaffirming the integrity of faculty and institutional leadership position. Research, National Research Foundation will be established so that research can be expanded, or because as I said, except R&D centers, academic institutions are nowhere concentrating. So all the required facility that academic institution require, like fund, seed money, etc., all those things will be provided to this National Research Foundation. And every institution should have a highly qualified independent board. That is one of the vision, so that they can independently take the academic and administrative decision. And regulation should be light but tight. That is one of the vision. And it also says we should increase access, equity, and inclusion. So based on all the problems that higher education institutions were facing, so the vision of national education policy has been framed. Now coming to the present topic given to me, that is how NEP is going to help in skill, entrepreneurship development, and employability, and what are the challenges and opportunities in this. So here, due to this technological revolution, so there is a fourth industrial revolution that they also want to say 4.0, industry 4.0. As per that, lot of changes have been taken place with respect to the way we live, the way we work, the way we interact with each other. Everything has been changed because of this industry 4.0. So according to this, the conventional method, there's a lot of disturbance in the conventional method. So due to this disturbance in the conventional method, lot of persons have lost their job opportunities. Lot of job opportunities has been reduced. Now the only option that is available to is to increase our skilling, reskill ourselves, upskill ourselves globally. That is the only option left to us. Here, that too during this pandemic period, lot of challenges has been. For example, while delivering the contents by the faculty member, we were very much familiar or experienced in offline mode, but online mode was very difficult for us. So pandemic has taught us a lesson to learn the tools that are available for digitally transferring the information from one place to other, so that all the students are educated to online mode. And if proper skilling, proper reskilling, proper upskilling, if it is not done, totally it is going to affect the socio-economical growth of India. So now, there is, as per the UNICEF survey 2019, they say that at least by next 10 years, 47% of Indian youth will not be on the track of education and skill. So they will not be properly educated, or proper skill will not be given to 47% of students by next 10 years. And another survey says only 20% of the students those are going to pass out are employable. And that means 80% are they will be unemployed in India. So that why this specific particular, why the 80% are not employable? The reason is, so the demand supply gap. So what are the skill that students are going to gain? That skill doesn't match the skill required by the employer. There's a skill gap between the students and the employer, whether it may be agriculture sector or a trade sector or industry sector, whatever may be the sector, but there is a skill gap between these two. So now the major decision that the policymakers they have to take is, along with providing the employability opportunity, they should also check what is the current demand as per the local requirement or local workspace. According to that, the skill has to be upgraded. Now, to address all the skill-related opportunities or challenges of the skill, central government they have established Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, MSDE. With this, many schemes have been proposed, like Pradhan Mantri Kaushalya Vikas Yojana and Skill India. Through the Skill India mission, they have announced, and this year they have celebrated the 6th year. And every year on 15th July 2021, they celebrated under the name World Youth Skill Day. So July 15th, they have celebrated this. Our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji have inaugurated this particular program. Along with Skill India, they also have Sankalp and National Skill Development Mission under National Skill Development Corporation. So many schemes has been introduced by the central ministry, and our present minister Rajiv Chandrasekhar is the minister for state, who is the MP from Karnataka region. He has taken charge of this MSD, and along with that, there is a lot of things that we have to take care. It is the skill and reskilling that is required as per the market relevance, and we have to reskill ourselves as and when the technology changes, as and when digitization changes, so that we suit ourselves according to the transformation of the world. So a parallel policies are required to be developed as and when this new dynamics is going to change. So as per the 21st century requirement, the policies has to be redefined. So keeping this in view, the national education policy has provided us an innovative solution to solve all the problems, to solve all the challenges, so that such challenges from preschool to the higher education courses. So as the previous education policy, the curriculum and co-curriculum were completely separate. But as per the new education policy, there won't be extracurricular, co-curricular, etc., etc. Everything will be curricular only. For example, if student is studying education as one part, if he is interested in music, dance, sports, etc., even that will be part of a curriculum. So along with this, and vocational education will also be introduced in the mainstream gradually, so that the skill required for a new age education, everything will be introduced in the higher education system. And the much needed flexibility will be given to the student. That is, the subject in which he is interested, the skill that you want to build within him, or the skill that he has already and you want to exhibit. Even for that, the provision will be provided as per the National Education Policy 2020. So according to the World Economic Forum, the 21st century skills has been listed, and it has been categorized into three parts. All the 16 skills are divided into three parts. First part, it is foundational literacy. Second one is the competencies. Third one is character qualities. So what are the students they require? What are the skills that the student require for their day-to-day activities is brought under foundational literacy. And whenever there's a challenge, to face that particular challenge, what are the skills required? That is brought under the second part. And when there's a change in the environment, how the approach should be there. Even for that, what are the skills that the person should have? All those things are required in the character qualities, the third part, so that lifelong learning can be taken care. Even in one of the survey, it is also divided into four parts. That means the way we think, it also completely depends on the skill that we have related to creativity, critical thinking, and other thing. And at the working place, there are certain skills that is very much required, like communication and the collaboration skills, even that. And skills for living in this present 21st century, what are the skills that is required? Even that has been taken as a third one. And tools for working, for example, say communicating with others during this pandemic, that is using online mode. For that, what are the tools required? So in that way, all the 16 things are categorized into four as per ATCS. Now, what actually the National Education Policy 2020 has made. So they have adopted a learner-centric approach. What actually it is? In this learner-centric approach, they completely encourage experimental and lifelong learning. Learning will not end at the day one or day two. So learning goes on for a lifelong. So they have this experimental and lifelong learning. And second thing, they also have vocational education. They concentrated more on vocational education, second part. And third important is they have suggested that through this learner-centric approach, all the higher education has to transform themselves as per the requirements of the 21st century. Let us go through one by one. So in this lifelong learning, provision has to be made for the students to study. We have seen that students are facing a lot of problems. For example, due to personal reason, if student could not continue his study, for example, if a 3 years degree course is there, after first year, because of his personal problem, if he is unable to continue his studies, if he discontinues, whatever the time that he has spent for the first year, the amount that he has spent, and the knowledge that he has gained in the first year, everything is going to lose as per the previous policy. But as per the present policy, to keep track of the lifelong learning, this multiple entry and multiple exit option is done. For example, if student has completed first year and he doesn't want to, because of any reason, he doesn't, or if he's unable to continue the second and third, what actually is going to get? So a certificate will be given to him saying that he has completed the first year with certain credits, so that after first year he can go back, work somewhere, complete all his problems, and come back and again he can continue with the second year. So after first year, he'll be getting a 1 year certificate in a discipline, or even including the vocational and professional area. So if he completes 2 years of course in the study, so he will be given a diploma certificate, and if he completes 3 years, he will be given a bachelor degree. Even after 3 years, if he does some research, and if he completes the 4 years of degree, he will be given a bachelor degrees with honor. So due to this multiple entry and multiple exit option, students can exit from the degree within the particular period of time, and again he can come back and continue his study and gain the degree that he has left in between. And all this information saving at one particular place is very, very crucial part. So because of that, an academic bank of credit has been introduced, similar to that of our bank passbook, where we have all the details, the amount of transaction and other thing that we do, or similar to that of a digi locker, where all our informations are there. Similarly, in academic bank of credit, the student details, the complete details, what are the courses that he has studied, what are the credits that he has earned, all those information will be available in this academic bank of credit. Now, what is the use of this academic bank of credit? So, student, if he discontinues his course after 1 year, and for 2 or 3 years he is going to work somewhere, and again if you want to come back continue studies, this academic bank of credit or ABC is going to help him. Only if that number is given to the institution, higher education institution, all his credential information can be obtained. Similarly, so he has studied 1 year in one college, and if he want, because of transfer of his parents' job, he has shifted from one place to other, from Karnataka to north states, Bihar, West Bengal, etc. And if you want to continue his study there in that place, even this academic bank of credits is going to help. By just giving that number, all his credits will be transferred to that college wherever he is studying. Along with that, even if he wants to change the course, for example, he has taken science, BSc science. You want to shift after first year to the commerce. Yes, he is permitted. His credits will be transferred to accordingly to that particular thing, and the new credits, the one which he has to study, everything will be clearly made. So to enable multiple entry and multiple exit option, this academic bank of credit is going to help him a lot. So on July 29th, last month, UGC has given the clear-cut guidelines how this academic bank of credit will be there, how will be executed. Kindly, those who are interested in this multiple and to know more about this multiple entry and exit option and academic bank of credit, kindly go to the UGC website. In that, the guidelines are clearly mentioned, and it has been launched by our Prime Minister Narendra Modi ji on 29th July. And vocational institution plays the major role in getting the required skill for our employability. NEP will see that the children will learn at least one vocational education and is exposed to many more during this entire duration. As per the 12th five-year plan, our Indian young force or workforce of workforce who are exposed to this vocational education are less than 5%. When compared to other countries like USA, it is 52%, Germany, it is 75%, South Korea, it is 96%. Now, why such a low percentage in India? The reason is we currently focus only on grade 11 and 12 and also the dropouts of standard 8 and upwards. Only for them, we are providing the skill related activities or vocational education. But for others, we are not bringing that particular thing. So the need of an hour is we have to integrate our vocational education program in the mainstream education in all the higher education institutions. It may be difficult to introduce at a time, but in the phase manner, all the vocational courses can be incorporated in the higher education institution. And the aim of a national education policy is at least the next 15 years, 50% of learner through the school or higher education, they should be exposed to vocational education. Now, for that, it may be very difficult for higher education institution to offer vocational education. So, what is the suggestion given by NEP? NEP says we can take the help of the industries or non-government organization, that is NGOs, and we can provide the vocational education in the higher education. That provision has been made by NEP. And although we have bachelor's of vocation, BVOC degree, which was introduced in 2013, the vocational courses will be included in other bachelor degrees, which is of a 4-year multidisciplinary bachelor's program. Even in that, it will be introduced. And NEP will also take care of credit-based framework and mobility of this general and vocational education. How this has to be taken care, everything will be taken care by NEP. Now coming to the transformation of higher. So how do we achieve these 21st century skills? How these 21st century skills can be incorporated, can be developed, can be introduced? So for all those things, the higher education institution have to be completely transferred to the present day requirement or 21st century requirement. That is, all the higher education institutions should be a large multidisciplinary universities or a college. If they are unable to become a large multidisciplinary, at least they should have a cluster or a knowledge hub where this information can be shared, and minimum students in the campus should be 3,000. Should be 3,000. Along with this, to have a vibrant community or a vibrant campus, all the courses, including artistic, sports, cultural, etc., all those courses should be there in a higher education institution so that more and more students get attracted towards the interdisciplinary education. And they have also launched one platform called One Nation, One Digital Platform. So due to this pandemic, what happens is many of the students, they were unable to get the required skills for their employability. So keeping this corona or pandemic in mind, a One Nation, One Digital Platform has been introduced under PM eVidya, where many courses, online courses, which are digital, it can be digitally available, provided, that has been introduced so that children doesn't lose education during this COVID time or a pandemic time. And to encourage the skill and other aspects, around 1,200 higher education institutions, they have introduced new courses related to this skill, and they have already started training them along with them and providing them a short-term certificate or certification courses through those new courses which they are introducing. Now, for all this, guidelines are very much important. Here, all our higher education institution will come under Higher Education Commission of India. Any institution, if you consider, the 4 important things are: number 1, the regulatory body; number 2, accreditation body; number 3, the funds giving body; and number 4 is the governing body. So here, for that, higher education institution will work under 4 independent vertical. Under that, the first part is National Higher Education Council. This will be a single point regulatory body. All the higher education institutions, including BA, BSc, BCom, engineering, BI, everything will come under except medical and law. Medical and law has been kept away from this Higher Education Council, NHEC, and this regulation will be light but tight. As I said, light in the sense only very few more parameters will be seen for regulation. For example, area required, building required, staff required, equipment required, etc., etc. And this very few parameter will be tightly seen, so that it can be properly done. And regarding accreditation, as we have NAAC, NBA, QSIA, so all the higher other thing, everything will merge, and you have only one accreditation council, that is National Accreditation Council. And this will be provide us accreditation on a graded way, based on the performance that we do, and graded accreditation will be provided, and everything will be planned based on institutional development plan that we submit. And all the higher education institution will work hard so that by next 15 years they reach the highest level, and everything they will do it, they will have it in the form of a self-governing. And future will be in the binary process. That means if you're accredited, you'll run the institution. If you're not accredited, you'll not be able to run. In that way, it will be there. And third one is Higher Education Grant Council, where all the funds that you require for developing the skill-related activities or research activities, everything will be provided through this particular Higher Education Grant Council. Along with this, providing funds for skill and other activities, even this Higher Education Grant Council will take care of scholarships and developments to launch new courses. For example, now recently, artificial intelligence plays the major role. For example, this skill, this artificial intelligence skill, if you feel it is very much required for your institution, and if you are facing problems in arranging funds, you can just write it to the state government or the central government, and this Higher Education Grant Council will see that the required funds to establish that new skill course, artificial intelligence, that will be provided by the state and the central government. That is a responsibility of Higher Education Grant Council. And coming to the last one, General Education Council. So every skill that we develop, every course that we learn, a proper integration has to be done with respect to higher education system, with the course of higher education. For that, the General Education Council will have a national higher education qualification framework. This national higher education qualification framework, along with the help of national skill qualification framework, they will decide how the vocational education can be integrated with respect to higher education system. And after integrating, if 1 year student is going to complete 1 year, and if they want to give certificate, to give that certificate, what is the skill that student should have, that will be decided by this National Higher Education Qualification Framework. Even for the diploma and degree, what are the skills that student has to gain, everything will be decided by this National Higher Education Qualification Framework. Even for transferring the credits, so whatever the credits that he had earned through skill, that credit has to be transferred. Even that will be taken care by this General Education Council. And what are the specific skills that a student has to learn to get a certificate, to get a diploma, to get a degree, or to get a degree with honor, even that will be specified by this General Education Council. Now coming to the implementation part. So how it can be done? Because 21st century skills, they say all the 60, they are given 16 skills that has to be introduced. How it can be done? It says the policy will be good, and to be good, the implementation should also be good. Only then the policy will be. So it says there are certain principles has been given how to implement this. First, they say the policies should be implemented in the spirit and intent in the way which it has been formed. And second, everything should be in the phased manner. So what happens is it may be very difficult to introduce the skill program for the entire 4 years of course. You can start the skill program or a skill lab first year for the first year students now, and based on the requirement and the demand, and as and when there is a new skill required, it can be go on increasing, and it can be done in a phased manner. And the priority should be given. The one which is very much important, it has to be done first so that a strong base can be established. So skill is very much required. Therefore, immediately a skill lab can be set based on the course that you have, and priority can be given to it. And it should be a comprehensive one. That means the policy should be implemented completely. It should not be a plate meals. It should be a full meals. And careful planning should be done, because there will be a parallel implementation, so that a joint monitoring should be done on the implementation part, and there should be a collaboration between the central and the state government, and as and when the resources are required, it should be provided to the institution. That is sixth one, that is the required resources. It may be manpower or financial assistance, whatever it is required on timely basis, on the demand basis, it should be provided by both state as well as central government. And finally, carefully all this process should be analyzed, it should be reviewed, and if there is any modification required, then and then it has to be done. So these are the implementation guidelines given by the National Education Policy based on the requirement. Now, let us see what are the things that are happening at three important levels: institution level, state level, national level. What are the things that have been already done? Coming to the institution level, few institutions like NITK Surathkal, they have already formed board of governors. So there's a concept of governing council in every institution. So governing council, they meet yearly once, twice, etc. But that will not serve the purpose of the institution. So instead of governing council, we should have board of governors, and the members of board of governors should spend minimum of 100 hours, per year in the institution for the development of the institution. And this NITK, they have decided that they have already formed a board of governors. Board of governors are planning how to shift the content-driven curriculum to applied learning, how to change that they are thinking of. And they also designed a 360-degree assessment model that covers not only education, along with education, physical and mental well-being of students, how to cover, they are planning it up. And the experimental learning through vocational skills they have planned. They have already included vocational skills in their curriculum, along with vocational skills, the mathematical thinking, which are very much required for the 21st century skills, like data science and coding, even that they have included. So let us see at state level what are the things that has happened. So Karnataka is the first state to adopt. They have accepted the policy as it is, and already they have planned to start a BSc course, BSc honor in all the engineering colleges. This year they have proposed to start 75 such courses in the engineering institutions. Already committee has been framed. They are framing the syllabus, rules, regulations, everything they are thinking. So Karnataka will be the first to implement this national education policy. They have formed the task force also, and VTO will play the major role in implementing this national education policy, and they're training the faculties, because they know that leaders are good listeners are the ones who can implement this national education policy. So VTO has taken this step. And as I said, the 4 years BSc honor degree through Vishweshwar Technological University, they are planning to start this academic year. Coming to the national level, so what are the things that has happened? So as I said, MHRD has been named as MOE, Ministry of Education. AICTE has already given guidelines to the states to start the higher education institution in local or Indian language, interlanguage, and they have recognized 11 languages in which the higher education institution can be started. Out of 11 language, 4 language they have already come forward to start that from the next academic year. And AICTE have made it compulsory for faculties for 1 month industrial training, because the rules were generally for the students. Now the rules are there for the faculties also. There is 1 month industrial training for faculties compulsory, so that they can teach in a better way to the students. And National Research Foundation guidelines has been formed. So 10,000 crores per year has been reserved for research activities, not only in the engineering stream, even science, arts, commerce, sports, cultural, etc. Every course faculties who are interested or students those who are interested can utilize this fund. 10,000 crores per year means 5 years is 50,000 crores. So 50,000 crores has already been reserved for research activity. And last month, 29th, they have celebrated this 1 year completion of National Education Policy, and they have launched guidelines for academic bank of credit, multiple entry exit, internationalization. For all these guidelines has been launched. And IIT Madras, they have also started BSc degree online course on programming and data science under the term anyone anywhere. That means it's an online course irrespective of age limit. It may be from 16 to 65 years. As of now, last year data, 700 students they have registered. The only condition is they would have passed their second PU. Second PU if they have passed, and if their age is all 60 and above, even then they can register. As of now, 700 have been registered at different age group at different places all over India, and they are taking this particular course. And finally, it is NEP's main vision is to make Indian learner true globally ready for the future thing. So NEP will teach us how to acquire, how to learn the skill. It is learn how to learn the skill. So with this, I thank the organizers for providing me an opportunity to interact with the young minds, the students, the faculties, and other those who are interested here. Yeah, I thank once again for this opportunity. Over to moderator.
Thank you, sir, for that wonderful session. The session is now open for queries. If anybody would like to ask a question, you can unmute yourselves and go ahead.
Even you can post the questions on the chat box if required. So if there are no questions, there will be two answers. One, you understood everything, or you understood nothing.
Yes, I think your session was so informative that everybody has understood everything, sir.
Okay. Anyhow, it is because it is a student-centric NEP. Students have lot of advantage in new education policy. If this new education policy is completely implemented as it is described, students are going to benefit in a huge number. Along with faculties and management, the major takeover is for the students. Anyhow, best of luck for all the students those who have taken part in this, and thank you for opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Today's webinar was organized by the Oxford College of Science on the theme suggested by AICTE to mark completion of 1 year of transformation reforms under NEP 2020. So thank you very much, sir, since you were a part of the NEP implementation team of the Karnataka Task Force. I think nobody could have done more justice to this topic more than you. Thank you so much, sir, for this wonderful session. And we would like to look forward to more such sessions with you in the future. And thank you, sir. I would also like to thank our principal, heads of all the various departments, deans, coordinators, faculty members, and all the students who have participated in this session. The feedback form link is put up in the chat box. Kindly fill it up. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.